Okay, so we have ourselves some Red Wings news that came out a little bit earlier today. They have themselves a really interesting thing that I wanted to go over here on the channel because it gives us an opportunity to talk about guys that we usually wouldn't really talk about often. So let's go over the Red Wings and their 2021 Prospect Tournament roster. This is the Center Ice Arena Prospect Tournament going on between the Wings, the Leafs, the Blue Jackets, the Stars, and the St. Louis Blues, and these are the guys we're going to be looking forward to seeing on the Red Wings side. Now, because it says Prospect Tournament, don't get your hopes up. Not everybody who is going to be over here is going to be who you expect. There are some names that are off this list that are kind of game changers and probably some of the more notable NHL prospects in the Red Wings system, but I just wanted to take some time to go over the names, talk about them briefly here, and just shine the spotlight on Red Wings prospects that don't normally get the spotlight shined upon them. So Lucas Raymond is first up here for the forwards for the Red Wings, and we don't need to talk about Raymond. Plain and simple, we're going to make a 1 year later video on him sometime in the next few days. He's a top prospect from the 2020 draft. He is fantastic. He is like the Swedish Mitch Marner, if you want to say. Passing, playmaking, understanding the game, two-way, off-the-puck instincts. He is fantastic at all of those aspects. He could play center if he wanted to, but he might project as a winger long-term. Chase Pearson is over here. He was drafted back in 2015, and we made a video talking about the signing of Chase Pearson. He was a pretty good point-per-game player with Grand Rapids this previous season. He's 24 years old after spending some time in the Maine University Black Bear system. So right away, one of the names on here that's like, that's going to be cool to see him over there, a 3-year AHL veteran. Speaking about the AHL, hey, Hayden Verbeek is over here. He's an undrafted OHL player who went over to the Laval Rocket system, spent some time in the ECHL, went over to Slovakia, and then he ended off his 2021 last season with the Red Wings farm team, the Grand Rapids Griffins. He's had a rough journey going about his hockey career, and now he is going to be suiting up for the Red Wings at this prospect tournament. Next up is a guy whose name you might recognize. It is Jonathan Berggren, one of the Red Wings' top picks from the Swedish division. He was taken in the second round of, 2018, something like that, and he really worked his way up in Sweden to the point where he was one of the more underrated SHL players this most previous season. Just under a point per game in the Swedish Hockey League. He's 21 years old, 2000 born, so he's going to be one of these guys alongside of Raymond that's probably going to have a whole bunch of star power behind his name, suiting up for the Red Wings at this prospect tournament. Next up, we have a string of players that are all kind of in the similar boat. Pascal Zito, Cameron Butler, Davis Codd, Cooper Walker, these guys were all OHL players last year who didn't really do anything in the OHL because the OHL didn't exist. Pascal Zito was a Red Wings draft pick 6th round from the 2021 NHL Entry Draft. Butler, Codd, Walker, these guys are all undrafted players who are taking their talents over to the Red Wings in this little camp over here, so we'll see if they have themselves anything to show off for the Red Wings, if they like what they see. We'll see if any of these guys get contracts because some of them are a little bit older, not all of them are going to be constricted to only being drafted next year, for example. But next up on the list over here is Luke Toporowski, who is a WHL player. He's 20, so one of the older guys here on this list. He had spent his previous season split between the Spokane Chiefs and the Sioux Falls Stampede. He was a really good point producer in the WHL the previous few seasons, so against prospect competition, you're probably going to see this guy do pretty well. Cross Hanas is a Red Wings draft pick that was taken in one of the more earlier drafts. He was taken in 2020 out of the WHL as well. He's a Portland Winterhawks guy who played 6 games this previous season, had 4 points, but he also played in the USHL last year too. Next up is Patrick Curry, a guy who's 25 years old, so one of the oldest players in this tournament, recently graduated from Boston University and suited up for the Grand Rapids Griffins in the AHL this previous season where he had 5 points in 24 games played. Now, that's really not that great. He is 25, but he did produce a lot as a forward in the BU system, so hopefully he's going to go over there and get himself a role somewhere in hockey as the year goes on, but as we have seen so far, this is going to be the first step into the new year. Kirill Tuthiev is a guy that I'm so excited to see suit up over here because if you've been following the story of Kirill Tuthiev, you're kind of in luck because this is a guy that for some reason, follows the same path as Pavel Datsyuk, from the hometown to the hockey, and the way he has played. He suited up in Belarus this previous season, getting 32 points in 43 games played. He is only 5'9", 146 pounds as a left-wing center, and he was taken in the 7th round of 2019. He was one of the top-producing U18 Russian players ever in the U18 league in 2017-18, so he's going to be fantastic to see. I can't wait to see how he's going to develop. And then we have ourselves a name that you might recognize. Hey, guess what? It's Joe Veleno. He's on here too. Guess what? You have a roster of guys that are all OHL guys who didn't play last year, or WHL players. You have some SHL guys in there too. Let's throw in Joe Veleno, who played in the National Hockey League last year, because he definitely does need the development. Moving over onto the defense, Jared McIsaac is a guy who has been the most unlucky Red Wings prospect the previous few years. He has been injured in different shoulders several times, and it's been so unfortunate to see his entire process go down, because you definitely don't want to see a guy who is Red Wings property with the talent that he has suffer in that way and stunt his development. But Jared McIsaac heading over here, he's a fluid guy. He knows how to produce points. He was a top round projected prospect in the 2018 draft that ended up going significantly later to the Red Wings. So for Jared McIsaac, I can't wait to see what he's able to become if he's able to stay healthy, that's for sure. Donovan Sabranga was up next, and if you know who Donovan Sabranga is, hey, we made a video about him talking about his entire profile. Drafted by the Wings in 2020, he is another one of these OHL guys who didn't suit up in the OHL in 2020-2021. He went over to the Grand Rapids Griffins as a 19-year-old this previous season, where he had 31 games played and they had 4 points. Now, that's not amazing, but he was out here as an underage player playing in the AHL, which is a big feat in itself, and Donovan Sabranga is a guy that I think is a really interesting prospect you should keep an eye on, especially as a third-round pick from the Red Wings. He was producing really well in the OHL, but kind of got slowed down because of this previous season. Next up, though, Wyatt Power out of the Cleveland Monsters in the AHL. He graduated from the University of Connecticut in 2019-20 and played a full season in the AHL this most previous season as an undrafted player. Now he's signed over to the Red Wings here, making $800,000, so we'll get our first taste of action seeing him in this system. Let's head back over to the QMJHL, the 2021 draft pick from the Red Wings, Oscar Plendowski, taken out of the Charlottetown Islanders system. He's 18 years old, he's a right-handed defenseman, and he was one of the more stable guys on the back end on a stacked Charlottetown Islanders squad this season. That team was all over the place with its really great talent in Lucas Cormier and Cedric DeRousseau, and shut down guys like William Trudeau. Plendowski was kind of lost in the mix, but he was out there playing on that squad regardless. He'll be suiting up for the Red Wings at this tournament. Mason Ward is over here too, out of the Brandon Wheat Kings. He's 6'5", 218 pounds. He had 6 points in 22 games played this most previous season. He's not really a big-time point producer, but he is a big-time guy. 19 years old, so he has some experience. He'll be suiting over with the Red Wings over here too. Alex Cotton is another one of these Red Wings draft picks. He was taken back in the 2020 draft out of the Lethbridge system as well. So the Red Wings really are going a lot of CHL over here. A lot of WHL guys, a lot of OHL guys who didn't play. Alex Cotton's a guy who produced pretty well this previous season for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. He was a point-per-game defenseman, and he was a point-per-game defenseman last season too. He was an overage drafted in 2020. Finally, though, with the last defenseman here on the team, you have Adam Brubacher, who is a 25-year-old 6'4", 205 player who played recently in the Manitoba Moose system. He had an interesting development path as he had spent his entire career shuffling around junior hockey leagues in the GOJHL and then the BCHL, Junior A and BC. Then he went over to the NCAA, the Rochester Institute of Technology, for 4 seasons. Then he played his first season of pro. He's had a really long development path, and he is 25, so I don't want to make it seem like the development is going to explode into something fantastic in the next few seasons, but still, going to be cool to see what Brubacher is going to be able to do. Going over onto the goalies, this is what's going to make a lot of people excited. Sebastian Cossa over here. Nothing more to say about Cossa. An exceptional goalie in the WHL. He went before Jesper Wallstedt. He was absolutely mind-blowingly good. So, yeah, Red Wings fans, super happy to get him. Victor Brottstrom is over here as well. He's a 2018 Red Wings player from the Liga this previous season who suited up in 38 games played. He had a 903 save percentage and a 2.20 goals against average, which is pretty good. I mean, he's 24, so it's not really the youngest guy in the world, but still, he's going to be over here. And then you have Jan Bednar, who was taken, 19 years old. He was a 2020 pick who played for the Acadie Bathurst Titan this previous season in the QMJHL, where he got lit up 12 games played, 3.62 goals against, 8.94 save percentage, but he was really good in the Czech leagues as a younger guy. So we'll see if he gets his mojo back. But there you go. This is our little review of all the Red Wings prospects that are going to be shown off here at this prospect tournament against the Blue Jackets, the Blues, the Leafs, and the Dallas Stars. Talk to me in the comments. What do you think about all these guys? Obviously, the big names missing off of this team over here. Literally the big names. Moritz Seider, he's a big guy, not going to be here. Simon Edvinsson, big guy, not going to be here either. Talk to me in the comments. What do you think about the roster and the players they have acquired? I hope you enjoyed this video. Josh Rolls 99. And bye.